San, I'm really happy that you're taking part in this. I mean, first of all, it's amazing that you're playing at my gig, but as you have done many times, but also Ava Waves are playing. And do you want to just say something about the fact that you're playing at this festival that I've put together?
Well, I think playing as part of this Journeys Festival, celebrating not only 150 years of the Royal Albert Hall, but also immigration to this country. And definitely since meeting you and working with you on your Immigrants album, it's really made me look at my own kind of story as an immigrant, because I've never really, I have to be honest, I mean, since I moved to this country, age 4.5, 5 years old, not speaking any English, my mum's German, my dad's Greek-Irish, apart from very anti-German kind of sentiment that definitely was part of my childhood, I really feel like I've adapted to this country. I speak English. No one would ever know that I'm an immigrant. And I really didn't really think about it until working with you and these last few years, the conversations we've had about what it means to be an immigrant, about identity. And so just to be part of a concert and be part of a festival, playing your music, playing Ava Waves' music, and just celebrating immigration to this country, I think it really actually emotionally means quite a lot to me.
And also, I think, given that both Ash and you, Aisling Brouwer, who's the other half of Ava Waves, come from a European heritage, particularly, in a post-Brexit world. How do you feel about your European heritage now in the context of all of that?
I definitely feel like in the last few years, it's something that's become much more integral to my identity. I never thought of the importance of having a German passport as well as a British passport. It really honestly never crossed my mind. And definitely the last few years, writing the first Ava Waves album during and after the Brexit vote, and then my bandmate who was living in London, and we met in London. This is where we wrote most of our album, definitely in this country. She actually moved to Germany because she felt unwanted. And I think this festival is such a great opportunity to tell people they are wanted, whatever their skill set is. All the people who come and serve this country in the NHS, who bring value culturally, like Aisling brought value to this country culturally, bringing their own heritage. I think it's such a great opportunity to celebrate all of those differences and people's unique contributions to society.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well because the history of the hall includes Albert Einstein talking about refugees, and in fact Yehudi Menuhin in 1939, who obviously was a great violinist, talking about Jewish refugees. And I know your father is an expert, an academic on Holocaust.
Well, so my father's Greek-Irish. Both his parents met as a result of Europe and Europeanness, because my grandfather was stationed in Athens. He's an Irishman, stationed in Athens during the Second World War. And then my parents met because my mum is German. She came over here on a student international, one of those first EU kind of drives to have collaborations between European countries. So I feel like I'm totally the product of people coming together and celebrating and working together for a common goal. And my dad, his work is as a history professor is on the Holocaust and the German like modern history. So he very much he always spoke as we were growing up about identity and individual identity, cultural identity, and how that then marries together with other cultures and host countries, and the dangers of it as well, the dangers of following a right-wing fascist path and the fallout of that. So yeah, it's always been big topics.
Absolutely, and as a violinist, again, playing on the same stage as Sir Yehudi Menuhin did in 1939, with where he was actually literally. This was an amazing concert where he brought in. Some amazing people to perform as well, but this was in aid of people who were fleeing Germany at the time and for their resettlement around that time. So it's interesting because as a violinist, it has a relevance to you, but also your father would probably be interested in that too.
Yeah, I think the threads of history. I think that's also my father as a historian has always taught us is that human beings. I mean, you have to live in hope, but there are threads of history which reoccur. And I feel like we're at a precipice where we have to be so careful at not repeating patterns in history in terms of how we view immigration, how we view refugees, and really it involves empathy, and it involves everyone feeling that they have a role to play, even if it's donating, or even if it's just being engaged and informed. But obviously also on a political level and on a higher level, there are things we can do. But I'm a musician and I play music, and that's the way I try and break down barriers, cultural barriers, and also not break them down, actually just reach across them and celebrate different cultures. And I think that especially now what's happening in Afghanistan, as a woman and as a musician, two categories which are very much persecuted under the now Taliban regime. It really is about seeing whatever you can do to to have empathy, but also try and make changes, even in any small way that you can. But Nitin, I mean, you've always used music as a way to explore your own identity, but also reach out across to other cultures. Like, how do you feel now your role as a musician and a composer is?
Well, I think it's more important to me than ever that to emphasise the idea. I mean, music's always been my language, and I think of music as it is for you, and music is a language that speaks across humanity, and it doesn't adhere to the same kind of prejudices and bigotry that actually erect boundaries, across the world as well as Europe, and so I kind of feel frustrated by a lot of what's going on in politics, but music is a very cathartic way to actually have a platform and be able to express feelings around what is going on in the world. And it's an incredible privilege to have people like yourself and Shimik Dutta, but also a lot of the band, as you know, come from many different backgrounds, and to have those people who have incredible talent and skills and understanding of music, but also are on the same page in terms of wanting to break down barriers and really think about the fact that music is a universal language. That really makes me very happy. So when we're on stage together, I feel that real bond between everyone on stage, but also with the audience, because I do feel that the audience really gets that. I remember when we were in 2019, I was being interviewed by Nikki Beatty, and she asked me a few questions about immigration. I was really surprised by the incredible warmth and response of the audience when I was talking about immigration and talk about celebrating immigration. And in fact, I've got that T-shirt on today, which is kind of like, so it's kind of, I do feel very passionately about that. And I do feel passionately about the fact that the Royal Albert Hall's given us a platform during this whole week festival to actually be able to celebrate immigration, to celebrate 150, it's the 150th anniversary of the Royal Albert Hall, but it's talking about specifically immigration into the country during that time and some of the events that have taken place here. So yeah, it's very exciting.